What's up, Acolyte Squad? My name is Prince, and I'm an urban acolyte. And it feels like the thing that a lot of Star Wars fans on YouTube want to see are videos talking about how the sequel saga is going to be retconned, that everything that they like ever since Disney acquired Lucasfilm is going to be undone using the world between worlds. We had to deal with it over the summer with Doomcock stating that the veil of the Force, because he didn't even understand the world between worlds, would be used to undo Palpatine's death and resurrection, or we thought he died. Now we've got this video that's gaining steam from Lore Star. That's whoever is taking over the Dash Star Wars channel, who is also claiming that Dave Filoni has already proved the sequels are in an alternate reality. I debunked the theory, at least I felt like I did, last week, and I still have people saying I really like the idea of alternate realities. I think this is a good theory, Prince. And I'm like, well, you know, you might like the idea of it. You might think it's a good theory, but it's not going to happen. And to be honest, I don't think you understand the world between worlds. If you buy into these theories, look, Star Wars Theory is not the only person who doesn't understand Star Wars. Hell, there's a whole lot of Star Wars fans who don't understand Star Wars. So what I want to do is I mentioned this in the other video. Somebody said that they'd like me to go on about it, where I said, look, the world between worlds has this it's something that comes from what we would call the occult. It's not just a time travel portal. There's more to it than that. It's deeper than that. And I shouldn't even say there's more to it than just, it's not a time travel portal. It's not a place where you can go and undo things and change the story. That's not it at all. And if anyone says that, they do not have an understanding of the world between worlds, the spiritual aspects of Star Wars, and the material that underlies it, that inspires the fiction that we see in the movies and the shows and in the books, right? Because some of this is rooted in reality. And I use that, with parentheses, because when we start talking about the mysticism behind Star Wars, I mean, who can say what's real and what's not real, right? So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, all right. So like I said, Lore Star presented this theory. A lot of people liked it. I obviously have gone back and I dislike it because, it's a nice video. It looks good. It's very pretty. He gives a convincing argument. I don't know. Maybe he was Dash's ghostwriter that Dash had a long time ago. I don't know. I don't know their relationship, and I really don't care to know, right? But we see the Ahsoka Tano series, the poster, and we obviously see that there's some connection to the world between worlds and the Mortis gods. Now, what I've been saying all along about this, and everything I'm saying to you guys actually came to me because I'm working on an Ahsoka video that my friend Niger, is a response to a question he asked me on Twitter about Ahsoka the Mystic and Obi-Wan the Dogmatic. Now, like I said, the majority of the Star Wars fandom on YouTube, that me using those terms just flew completely over their heads. And hey, man, I'm good with that. I have to make some bubblegum video if I want to see these kind of views like I used to get. To the people who ask why I don't get 1 million views and 500,000 views on videos anymore, it's because the audience that's coming to an Urban Acolyte video, unless I'm straight up talking smack about somebody, it's gonna fly over most people's heads, and I'm good with that. I didn't get on here, and I didn't originally start talking about Star Wars to appease the lowest common denominator when it comes to the Star Wars fandom. I was talking about mysticism and using Star Wars as an example. And now I'm kind of talking about Star Wars and drawing in the parallels to various schools and branches of mysticism, right? So it's almost like I flip-flopped. Hey man, it's like my big sister Rain Roberts of the Lucasfilm Story Group, shout out to her, executive producer of the Acolyte. Hey man, I think that 2021, right, we got the Acolyte series, and then in the High Republic you got this black Padawan and his first name is Bell. I think maybe the Lucasfilm Story Group's trying to tell me something, right? There ain't no Jedi in there named Toos. Isn't that Star Wars Theory's last name? And you know, they don't have a Star Wars Theory show. They got an Acolyte show, and they got a Jedi that's black and a Padawan, and his first name is my last name. I don't know. Maybe Lucasfilm's trying to tell me something. Maybe they have been watching the videos over the years, and they're like, you know, we're gonna toss this dude a nod and see if he catches up on the game that we trying to kick to him. We might help him blow up. So I need to get back to reading my High Republic books, right? But this video, he says that there's an alternate reality, one where Ahsoka died on Malachor, and another one where Ezra saves her. The reality where Ezra saves Ahsoka is the Filoni verse, right? The Filoni verse where they are going to fix Luke Skywalker and they're going to undo, and Rey and Finn and all this stuff from the sequel saga never happens. And Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are going to save Star Wars because they're going to continue to tell stories in the alternate reality, the Filoni verse, and the sequel saga was so horrible, they're just going to leave that story and just forget about it, right? It's going to become part of Legends, even though we already have Legends. And that means, okay, so if the sequel saga's an alternate reality, then all the books and everything else that you got leading the road to the rise of Skywalker, the road to the Last Jedi, right? The road to the Force, all this stuff where, you know, you set up everything. That means Battlefront 2 is part of this alternate reality. And so like Luke Skywalker knowing about Ahsoka, right? It's like, so Ahsoka died, you know, they're on Malachor, you know, and Luke only knows about her because of Anakin's Force Ghost telling him later, yeah, when I was Vader, I killed my Padawan, even though that didn't happen, right? So the reason, like I said, I'm working on another Ahsoka video, and all of this is literally fresh in my head because I've been sitting here going back looking at those old episodes of the Clone Wars and Rebels and the Mandalorian. Well, they're new actually, is because I'm using some of that stuff, talking about it in the video, dealing with Ahsoka as the mystic, right? And Obi-Wan as the dogmatic. So be on the lookout for that. I was planning to drop it tomorrow, but we'll see because, I don't know. I'm going to try to get it out to you guys tomorrow, but I have another channel about martial arts and meditation and stuff. And I really need to work on, either a Bruce Lee video or something. And I haven't even written the script yet, which means, and I got other stuff not related to YouTube that I'm working on that needs to get done too. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll try to get that video out quickly. I might not do as much editing on it as I had planned. So, you know, be watching the notifications, alerts, whatever. If you're not subscribed, you know, I'm just like, hey man, watch more videos. Be on the lookout for the video when it drops is all I'm saying. But as I was saying, I was looking at all of this stuff and I'm like, this is, first off, what he's saying is wrong because Vader never would have been able to kill Ahsoka on Malachor because Ahsoka actually saved Anakin, right? We see in Rebels when they come back and look at the episode and, you know, when Ezra pulls her out into the world between worlds, is that she splits open the floor so that, you know, when there's the explosion and everything, Vader's not there in the temple, right? Which, I mean, all it would have meant is that if Ezra had never pulled her out, then the temple would have exploded and maybe she wouldn't have fallen through the crack in the floor to survive either, right? She would have taken the detonation full on. She would have taken it straight to the dome, right? But I'm thinking if Ezra hadn't pulled her out, she would have survived it too, right? She would have been injured, banged up, but she probably would have survived, right? She would have taken on some of the impact, but not all of it. But my point is, like, Vader didn't kill Ahsoka. She would have, if she had died, it would have been because of the temple exploding. But her final act was saving Anakin, saving Vader. When we jump ahead 2 years to where Ezra is in the world between worlds, Morai is there at the portal. Morai tells Ezra to save her. That's what That's the whole reason Morai is there, is that all along, that was Ahsoka's story. Ahsoka's story all along was to be pulled out. And Dave Filoni and his little Ahsoka Lives teasing us at Star Wars Celebration weekends. He made those limited series edition cards where he has Ahsoka and it's her passage through the underworld, the nether regions. And when you go back and look after you get the full story, it's us looking at her through Ezra's point of view, looking at her through the portal in the world between worlds. It was always Ahsoka's story to go into the world between worlds. One, she kind of experienced it in the Jedi Temple on Lothal when Yoda told Ezra, go to Malachor, right? And then she turns around when they're leaving the temple on Lothal. She sees Yoda through the world between worlds. The temple on Lothal had a special connection. That was where the portal was to enter the world between worlds. And Ezra, his whole thing was, he had been going there all along, for the first time he went there and got his kyber crystal and heard the voice of Yoda. And then when they go back in season 2 and Kanan is knighted and Ezra sees Yoda and, Ahsoka has the vision of Anakin and she realizes that he is Vader, right? So, this is the other thing, right, is that Dave Filoni actually, I'm letting you guys see this quote so I'm not making it up, right? When he's asked about the world between worlds being used as is it a power to time travel and change past events and everything? And, what do you think about, this being used other places in the Star Wars franchise, other stories, other creators coming in and using it as that, like these Doomcocks and Lore Stars and who knows who else has been trying to use this as a method to retcon Star Wars. And Dave Filoni says, no, I hope not. I mean, because this is important for this particular story. And I think we'd have to be very careful about how it would be used otherwise. It's why we destroy the temple in the episode. It's mainly a place that people would go to see the future and the past. It's not such an active place, and Ahsoka, for her part, when she's pulled out of that moment, is placed back in that same timeline and not very long after she left it. So again, she's smart enough to know that she cannot go back with Ezra. So there is not this big time travel thing. She knows she has to remain a part of her world and her timeline, right? So while it was a big moment to see Ezra use the Force to dip through time to save Ahsoka from her battle with Vader, don't expect it to become the next big go-to Force power across all Star Wars media. I'm sure many will agree with Dave Filoni in not wanting this to become a retcon mulligan for other movies, so don't expect to see Luke's fate at the end of The Last Jedi undone, for instance, and that's one of the main reasons why Star Wars Rebels destroyed the Jedi Temple after the rescue, right? Now, Dave Filoni goes on, and I said all of this in the Doomcock video, but I don't know. It's like I said this and I edited out of another video where when one of these popular theories comes out, right, the information to debunk it, that theory travels 18 times faster than the information that debunks it. That's not just with Star Wars. That's with anything, right? QAnon, conspiracies, all this stuff. They travel 18 times faster than the information to correct it. And so people get full of this stuff and they run around and it's like, It's crazy, right? So Dave Filoni goes on to say, I don't really think of it as time travel. It's not really a thing where you go through one door and out another in a different time. The world between worlds is really about knowledge and gaining knowledge. As the Doom Wolf says, what's in there is knowledge and destruction. You can gain knowledge of the future or future that may happen, and you can see things that happened in the past. You can at times choose to alter them, but it's perilous to do so. When you alter something, you don't know if that's not the way it always happened. So destruction is the other half of what's in there. When you go through these doorways, you're in peril of destruction because you're missing all sorts of things that would have happened or things would have happened otherwise, you know? So it's a dangerous game, but it's not something we're here going in and out of different doors. It's an extension of the Jedi's ability to perceive the future and the past as described in Empire Strikes Back. So if you go in and you change one thing, then you remove that piece from all of the other events that, you know, that precede what happened after that event that you changed and the present, right? So like I said, for Ahsoka, that was always what was going to happen for her. That was always her reality, right? Because Ahsoka is a mystic, right? Because Ahsoka is being led by a spirit guide, Moray, whether Moray is a spirit animal or Moray is the daughter herself, right? In another form, that we don't know. But Ahsoka is a mystic. And what do mystics do? Mystics, they spirit walk, right? And I'm using this from Mysticism, I think Carlos Castaneda, Don Juan, or is it Don Juan? I don't know. Carlos Castaneda talked about the spirit walk, right? Or like I said, the world between worlds has connections to the occult. And the person that I thought of when I saw the world between worlds, but I never talked about it, was Daskalos, the Christian mystic from Cyprus. And Daskalos has a deep connection to urban acolyte because the Dr. Kyriakos Markides, who's a sociology professor at the University of Maine, who wrote the Magus of Strovolos, and he wrote a trilogy about Daskalos and the Researchers for Truth. I actually talk about that in old videos that are now on my other channel, my personal vlog. My name is Prince, right? You know, and I talk about Daskalos and life after death and all of this and the miracles that he was said to have performed. I actually got invited to Cyprus by his daughter to study with them. When I was in seminary, I tried contacting his students in America. I don't know what happened with that, but I moved on to other things, right? But I'm saying all of this, I'm kind of stalling before I read this passage. Let me just read the passage. So in the psychonoetic world, the individual lives at once on the psychic plane and in his own subjective world. Even on Earth, human beings live inside their own heads as much as in the real world. On the psychic plane, they can virtually ignore objective reality. So although, according to Daskalos, the psychic plane has trees, mountains, oceans, and rivers, he says that our real world is psychic or four-dimensional world. Space here is neutralized and the individual can move over vast distances instantly. It is presumably in this dimension that the protection of the double can take place. Finally, in the noetic or fifth dimension, laws of space and time are transcended so that the individual can travel across time as well as space. Every individual has a corresponding body for these three worlds, and all three bodies make up the total personality, right? So for Daskalos, like I said, there's a connection to the occult here, right? The noetic world would be the world between worlds. How do you get the noetic world? The easiest way I can explain it to you guys, it's like astral travel, right? But for Daskalos, there are different realms, right? There's the real world, right? But then there's the fourth dimension world. There's the fifth dimension world. Some of this, those of you who have read philosophy and you know of a dude named Plato, and Plato had this thing about the forms, right? The forms are the perfect version of things. If you are a Christian Gnostic, then you might believe that the forms exist in heaven and that whatever you refer to life force or spiritual energy, ether, whatever, passes through the forms, and as it passes through the forms, it goes through these different dimensions, the noetic worlds, the psychonoetic worlds, until it comes to the real world, and in the process it becomes corrupted. Now this is what Christian Gnostics believe. I told y'all, man, I'm kicking knowledge that, like, I'm not trying to spit all over the other Star Wars, but and who the hell is going to talk about this in a Star Wars video on YouTube, right? So as I was saying, some of y'all are eating this up, and the rest of y'all, like, Prince has been smoking some. I've never done a single drug in my life, man. This is what I went to school for, right? When I say, yeah, I kind of went to school for Star Wars. No, this stuff right here that I'm talking about is what I actually studied, right? Is what I would read about, you know, like, I just crazy, like, buy every book I could on it, right? And this is what I actually started my YouTube channel to talk about, not Star Wars and Luke Skywalker, what lightsaber is he carrying around, and you know, the 12 most powerful lightsabers in the history of Star Wars, right? Somebody, shout out to the person who said, how can I critique Star Wars theory if I don't watch his channel? I think that's one of his top 10 videos. It might be his number one video, right? I do my research, and then I say, I don't like this channel, I'm not going to watch. So as I was saying, so Christian Gnostics believe that, you know, the ether, whatever it is that I don't really remember the term, right? Because you got like urges and demiurges. This is all in the creation story for Christian Gnostics, right? Is that, you know, you have this one thing, it's like God or whatever, the perfect forms exist here, and then things fell away. And as they fell away, they became more and more corrupted, right? So kind of this spirit walk for them is, you know, you enter a state of deep meditation. You're you know, one of your higher bodies, right? You've got, you know, the physical body, you know, you got like a spirit body, but then you've got like a higher level spirit body that can travel to these higher dimensions, right? You have to raise your energy to reach these other dimensions, right? And that's really what we saw happen with the World Between Worlds. You look at the episode that preceded them going to Malachor, right? When they're in the Jedi temple, they're in meditation, and they get up and they leave. Like, Kanan is like, I see a door. No one else sees the door. He goes in, he's in the dojo, you know, sparring with the Grand Inquisitor, right? Whatever, I forget what his real name is, but right, he's sparring with him, and that's where he gets knighted, because that is Kanan going into the noetic world as it pertains to him. Ahsoka doesn't go anywhere, but she has a vision of Anakin becoming Vader. Ezra leaves and literally goes into the World Between Worlds with Yoda. And so there's a question about maybe Ezra has access to the World Between Worlds, you know, without having to go through the portal, but, you know, he was always there in the Jedi Temple on Lothal. There's a question about that we have to consider, because maybe that's one of Ezra's special powers, special abilities. Maybe Ezra is a mystic too, just like Ahsoka. Ahsoka would have access to the World Between Worlds through Morai, right? And her connection to the daughter, right? Because Mortis is a place where, you know, the Force is very powerful and it does weird things, and it's a magnet to the Force, right? And it's an amplifier to the Force, right? And maybe when Ahsoka is in a place like that or similar, it allows her to spirit walk or travel to this astral plane, or basically, for Star Wars language, to enter the World Between Worlds, to see things, to see past and present, right? And where things collide, and it helps her to make other decisions, right? But, you know, at the same time, it's like maybe she can't rely on it, or, as I've been saying, as Ahsoka transitions from Ahsoka the Grey to Ahsoka the White, maybe she has now mastered that ability. She has mastered her connection to the daughter and to Mortis and everything else that goes along with Ahsoka walking that path. But what I'm telling you guys is that the world, the psychonoetic worlds and the noetic worlds, they change for the individual, right? Daskalos talks about these psychic planes, and it's in this book is called Beyond the Occult. I just luckily managed to pull it up on Google. Most of my books on Daskalos and the research for truth are only in physical print, and the books went out of print a long time ago. The other two, the Megas Astrovalos, you can get for Kindle. If you're into this stuff or you're interested, I highly, suggest you check it out. I have it, but I didn't feel like looking for it on my Kindle reader. But the other two books, they're back in the U.S., and I kind of chalked it up to I'm never going to see them again unless you guys watch more videos, and one day I can afford to replace all of the books that I actually would like to read again. Or actually the third book. No, I didn't even finish. I think I might have finished the second book, but I didn't even start on the third book. So yeah, it kind of sucks. I wish they would make Kindle versions of the other books, but it is what it is. Well, my point is that I was going to tell you guys a story. So a story about Daskalos talking about the psychonoetic world, right? And if you go up in this, he like talks about the etheric double, the aura, that's like the spirit, right? So when you die, the physical body and the etheric double meaning the double of you that's completely made of ether, not this flesh and bone, right? Like Yoda said, not this crude matter, right? This crude matter, right? But there's a double of it that is ether, or the aura. Excuse me. So, you know what? I'm sitting here pointing to my screen. You guys can't even see the screen, right? So here. Oh, I guess I can't highlight this. Okay. Well, right here, you guys can read it unless you're on your phone, and it's probably too small for you to see it. But he's talking about at the moment of death, the etheric double leaves the body and goes to the psychonoetic world. Now, like in, I think it's a chapter called Heaven and Hell in the Megas Astrovalos, Daskalos is talking about how he, could reach this, deep state of meditation and go to the psychonoetic world. And he went to visit a friend or a co-worker, some guy that he knew, and he was like, this guy, all he liked to do was play cards and smoke cigars. So I go to visit him on the psychonoetic world because his family's really worried about him. He like had this, massive heart attack or something and died, and they were very sad. They went to Daskalos because they know he's this mystic and he can do all this weird stuff, and they're like, can you go and check on him? We just want to know if he's okay. So he goes there, and he's like, this dude is in like this pool hall. Everybody's smoking cigars. It's like smoke like you have to fan the smoke out of the way and everything else. You can't see. It just stinks of cigars. He was like, this place to me was like hell. Right. But this guy, this is all he wanted to do. He is doing exactly the thing that he wished he could have done every day, was smoke cigars and play cards and drink whiskey, and nobody bother him. Right. Just being the dirtiest, nastiest pool hall playing cards. And it was like, for me, that was hell. But this guy, that was heaven. Right. That is exactly what he wished he could have spent his days, every day of his life doing. It would have made him happy to smoke cigars and play cards and drink and, be sloppy drunk, but never like too, sick. Right. So he could just drink to his heart's content. He was in heaven. Right. And I say that because that was for that individual. Right. It wasn't just, oh yeah, you're here and there's the pearly gates and they're singing and angels and all this stuff. It was like, that reality that was as it pertained to him. So as it gets back to what this dude is talking about, who doesn't understand the world between worlds and is just, making, clickbait stuff. Maybe he actually believes it, but as far as I'm concerned, all of these world between worlds and how they're going to retcon the sequel saga is just, it's smart. It's playing to your audience. It's telling your audience exactly what they want to hear. Doomcock is a master at it. I will give him that compliment. He is a master of telling his audience exactly what they want to hear. And then when you say, hey man, it's not true, fake facts, you're a hater, right? I mean, hey man, it's a dude that's, it's going to be January 20th tomorrow in a few hours where I am, right? It's a dude that's getting up out of there, leaving office, and you got people ready, the FBI's after him because they believe that, he should be the king of the America, and that, the person who beat him in the election, according to every court that is, that has been consulted about, this election, they said you have no evidence of any, anything malicious happening. You lost fair and square, get out. Right. But I don't know, man. People believe a certain narrative, and it doesn't matter they will fight tooth and nail, to preserve their, what is it called? It's like there's a lot of terms for it. Confirmation bias, cognitive dissonance, the creative self-conscious, right, is where your self-conscious mind creates scenarios to preserve your reality, right? They're going to twist the story and everything else because this is the way the sequel saga sucked, and they have to retcon it. They have to get rid of it. There's no way that this can stand, because me and everyone that I talk to, they can't stand it. And it's like, that's the story, whether you loved it or hated it, it's a story. And the way to fix it is not to get rid of it and then to make up this other stuff, right? It's just, well, we're going to build the story around that and try to, when we build around, it's just like getting a bad tattoo, right? You get a bad tattoo and then you get stuff around it to turn it into a dope tattoo, right? A good tattoo, or you just get somebody to color over it, right? But it's still there, unless you get a removal, but you get a removal, it's still there. That experience is there. The money you paid for it is not going to come back, right? The removal is not a retcon, right? But in this case, Star Wars is not a tattoo, right? That Rey and Finn and Poe, their story is there. The experience is there. The bad experiences, the good experiences, it's there, right? And the world between worlds is not a tool to just wipe that away. It's not, right? When you enter the world between worlds, it's just like I told you the story about the psychonoetic world and the noetic world. What you see depends on the individual who's there, right? So somebody who has no relation to Palpatine can't go into the world between worlds and make Palpatine not transfer his essence into a clone, right? And if they did, then how does that change everything? Because even if Palpatine dies, you still have the First Order. The First Order's still there. Who knows when Palpatine created Rey's father? He could have been there all along, and it's just like, well, we had these other clones on backup, and this one isn't force sensitive, so he still could have gotten loose and, gotten married and had little Rey, and then Rey would have to take on, the First Order, Ben Solo would still be born, and who's to say that he doesn't turn to the dark side on his own, right? So, just because you take Palpatine off the map, then, you get rid of that, and then you get the sequel saga that, that George Lucas had kind of passed on in his notes, where you had this Uber character and Ben Solo still turned to the dark side, but he wasn't the Jedi killer. So you got Kylo Ren running around, and you've got Ben Solo running around, and then you've got somebody who might be a Sith Lord pulling all of the strings with the Imperial Remnant and the Sith, and then whatever Ben Solo is doing, right? So you could have a big mess where you got 3 factions instead of 1.5, right? Because turns out that some of the people with the First Order were taking their orders from Palpatine, and others thought they were just the First Order that Ray Sloan and everyone else had initially, that first generation of leaders, right? So that doesn't work. And then with Ahsoka died in one timeline and Ahsoka, no, that didn't happen. It was always the case that Ahsoka was going to be saved through the world between worlds. Dave Filoni showed it to us. We just didn't know what it was that he was showing to us at the time. He was really teasing us, everyone. And hey, man, he's the master at doing that. So, like I said, at the end of the day, you see, if you're seeing this video and you're buying into what I'm telling you, all you got to think about, all you need to really remember is this: the world between worlds is the noetic worlds from the Christian mystics that these occult Western mystics have talked about, right? The noetic world is it's like the astral plane or something, and what you experience there depends on the individual. So to say that someone can go there and change all of these events, the only thing they can change is what pertains to them. And the lesson there is that, yes, if the Force wills it, if that is what was always supposed to happen, then yes, it's not, you didn't change anything. That's just what was going to happen, right? Is that Ahsoka would find out about this place, and it looks like that, in her series, as she's searching for Thrawn and Ezra, that as she goes from Ahsoka the Great to Ahsoka the White, Ahsoka embraces her path as a mystic, fully embraces it, because she's always been on the path, but she just didn't know she was on the path, right? Like Morpheus said in The Matrix, right? The difference is, knowing the path and walking the path or something like that. Like, you know about it, but you're not walking it. When you're walking it, you're actually doing it, right? Just like do or do not, there is no try, right? If you say, well, I'm going to try, it's like, well, you haven't fully committed to it. But when you do it or you do not do it, you fully committed to either doing it or not doing it. And, either way, you fully, and even not doing is doing, right? You fully committed to the action, right? Versus, well, I'll try. That's just words. It's empty, right? You know about the path, but you're not walking the path, right? And so when I see Ahsoka in the World Between Worlds in their title, for me, it's like, okay, now she understands this connection that she has with Morai and with the daughter and Mortis and the World Between Worlds, and this mystical side of the Force and mystical teachings that the Jedi, for whatever reasons, had stopped teaching. They discarded. It was forbidden knowledge, right? But for Ahsoka, it's not forbidden knowledge. It's her life. It's her path. It's who she is, right? So, no, there's no alternate reality, none of this stuff. What it is it's Ahsoka's journey, right? Her hero's journey, right? She's not just a supporting character. She's not a side character. She's on her own path, her own journey. And if anything, like I said, Ahsoka apparently is not dead in The Rise of Skywalker. So to say that The Rise of Skywalker is on a timeline where Ahsoka dies is also not true, because it's implied that Ahsoka's still alive and still maintains some tether, some connection to the living Force, right? Not just the living Force, but the living. Where she is, what she's doing, who knows? Maybe she's taking up residence on Mortis, and that's why she doesn't try to find Rey and none of that. We don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, where Ahsoka's journey takes her, right? So that's really all I got to say on this. I really didn't want this video to be this long, but it's hard to talk about all of the Noetic world stuff and everything in a short video unless I scripted, which I probably should have done. But I was just sitting here. I was like, yo, man, I gotta hop on the mic and get this out of my head. So I'm not going to edit it. I'm just going to post it as is. And for those with the, eyes to see and ears to hear, let them hear. And I'll leave it at that. And shout out if y'all understood what I just did right there. Niger, you probably got what I just did, but I'll be impressed if there's a couple other theology professors who watched the channel. So y'all don't get any bonus points. Y'all should know. But to the other people, hey man, shout out if y'all understood what I just did right there. But anyway, I'm signing off. So hey man, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. But y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you always.